Edie number 4 gives Edie a new mission in life when she learns she can see the memories and control the minds of everyone she absorbs. And we're going to talk about it right here in our review. See you in 3. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Edie number 4 from Blood Moon Comics. But before we get started, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. Your attention is greatly appreciated, and make sure you stay tuned to the end for the final score. Let's talk about the credits. This issue is written by Paul Catalanato, art by Greg Warrenchak, colors by Rebecca Good, letters by Buddy Baudouin, I think is how you say that, and the cover is also drawn by Greg Warrenchak. Before we dig into the meat of this issue, let's talk about what happened in issue number 3. Edie started to figure out that her insatiable hunger and this sort of blobbish type amorphous body needed constant feeding from basically any kind of meat source that she can find, whether it was living or dead. She got her friend Taylor to bring her some food, which she absorbed almost immediately, but it wasn't enough. And she went out to a grocery store and started tearing her way through the meat section in the produce aisle. And unfortunately, she wound up grabbing up a couple of customers along the way. However, Edie then learned or started to figure out that within her own mind, she could hear the consciousness and the voices of the people she'd absorbed. So even though they were technically dead, they continue to live on within her consciousness, and she can interact with them, she can talk with them, they can talk with her. And now in this issue, we learned that she can take that even further. So let's pick up with Edie number 4. Edie's having a conversation with her mother and the other people that she's absorbed, hearing them basically crying out in anguish, lamenting all the things that they've now lost out, the family members, what have you. And she can't take it anymore because the noise just never stops. She tries to kill herself by downing a full gallon of bleach, and her body just reacts badly to it, or at least this new blobbish body, she reacts badly to it. But it doesn't take, and she reconstitutes herself. In her latest attempt to take her own life, she leaves a goodbye message on her father's voicemail, and he rushes over within roughly half an hour or so. And he finds her alone in the house and says, what the heck are you doing? Why are you scaring me to death? I know since the divorce, things haven't been great, but I still love you and I still care about you. You're still my daughter and you mean the world to me. Edie sort of believes it, but almost doesn't believe it. And in the course of her father making small talk and conversations, trying to reassure her and also answering a phone call from his new wife, Edie decides to tap into the mind of her mother, who is now absorbed into her consciousness, and tries to see her father through her mother's eyes. And then she gains an appreciation for what her mother saw, which was a father who was checked out, wasn't emotionally available, wasn't in some cases even physically available. And even though he wasn't necessarily abusive or a cheater in any way, she saw that he was not the loving, caring father that he claimed to be. Now, and so Edie decides, if you're not going to be the father, the man I wanted you to be on the outside, you're going to be the man I wanted you to be on the inside. And she gives him a big hug and absorbs him in before he has anything to say or do about it. And now both her parents are trapped inside her mind. Later, Edie says, this is now I know what I can do, or at least now I know what I have to do, because if this problem that I have isn't going to go away, of me being this new blob that just eats everything in sight, I might as well make good use out of it. So she reaches out to the boy who sexually assaulted her in the first issue and says, hey, let's make peace, and I'll issue an apology and retract everything I said. That'll get the school officials off your back. That'll get everybody back on my side, and we'll be all good. So he agrees, of course. She shows up at his house when nobody else is around, and she eats him, basically. And then in her mind, Edie can now tap into the boy's consciousness and see all the memories of what led up to the sexual assault, what happened after the sexual assault, as far as conversations he had with his parents and school officials, and recognizing that effectively across the board, all the adults in this boy's sphere of life helped him cover up what he'd actually done, or at least cast enough doubt to make it seem like Edie was lying when she wasn't, because they were all doing it in the name of protecting him and his future and the school and the sports team and everybody involved. But Now Edie knows the exact truth and that she wasn't crazy. She wasn't out of her mind because she was drunk. It really was a cover up of almost um, school level order where everybody was trying to hide the truth or at least obfuscate the truth enough to cast doubt elsewhere. But Edie now says, okay, well, since you're in my head now, I can do what I want. And so she uses the opportunity to take that boy's consciousness and effectively torture him as payback for what he did to her. And then the issue ends with Edie now sort of embracing who she's become and now in full control of her body, but also now with a new objective, which is to make every adult who covered up her assault pay for their part in the conspiracy. What do we like about Edie number 4? Honestly, the big deal with this issue is Edie's evolution into being this sort of scared, desperate, unsure individual, and having her evolve through this ability to now eat people and basically take control of their minds into becoming a new person. Now, if you peel back all the layers, technically speaking, she is now a monster in the truest sense and even a villain. She may not have liked who her father was, and she may not have liked the kind of father he was before she was born and then shortly after while she was growing up. But did he deserve to die because of it? No. So did the boy who assaulted her in the first issue deserve to die? Yeah, you could make that case. So there's some gray area here, and at the end of the day, Edie's still killing people. So as much as we want to empathize and sympathize with her character, she's still kind of a villain or a monster in the truest sense. So that's, generally speaking, good writing. Paul Catalanato gets you to get on Edie's side and gets you to empathize or sympathize with her, even though she's clearly doing bad things. And so that's a great way to develop that character and have her evolve through the story. The one negative aspect of this issue it was just a weird thing that happened. You're not quite sure exactly what happened is in the final moments, final moments of the issue, Edie is approached by a dog who licks her face and kind of says, good boy, good boy. And Edie is now basically acknowledged or recognized that she has full control of her body because her body didn't instinctively react and try to eat the dog. It's not quite clear how that worked out. I don't know if it was a mental thing or she just absorbed so many people that her body is satisfied for the time being, or you get the sense that some change has occurred in her, but it's not clear how that change was possible. And so the ending is the ending moments and what she's concluded is clear, but how she got there feels a little bit ambiguous and a little bit confusing. Switching gears to talk about Greg Warrenchak's art, it's good to very good. The panel layouts are solid. The color applications from Rebecca Good are good. He does do the double, but her last name is Good, so it works out that way. The composition of the panels, as far as kind of the internal struggle that Edie's dealing with when so much, or at least half of this issue is taking place inside her mind, is interesting and visually creative and well done. Some of the line work and the inks just sort of lack quality and professionalism that you might expect from the big two. It's still very kind of early in the career sketching for the character designs and the facial expressions and the outlines. It's not bad. It's just you can tell that some of the face work definitely needs a lot of work, if that makes sense. But otherwise, it's a good delivery on the art. Final thoughts. What do we think about Edie number 4? Great character work, great character development, especially in Edie's relationship with the people around her, and the revelations that she faces truly create a evolution in her mindset and in her personality and her attitude, and which causes her to fully embrace the monster that she's becoming. So from a character piece point of view, this was a very solid issue, and the art is okay. The downside is the ending. There's a scene with a dog at the end of the issue that sort of makes sense, but not entirely. So there's a little bit of vagary and confusion on the last couple pages. But otherwise, this is a solid issue. Therefore, we're going to give Edie number 4 from Blood Moon Comics a solid 8.2 out of 10. It's a fair score and maybe even a little bit generous, but I think this is one of the strongest issues in the series so far, and it deserves that score. What do you think about horror stories that have a thematic element of either a message or tackling a social issue? There's definitely a piece of that here with Edie dealing with her assault and finding a new and strangely creative way of dealing with that. Or do you like your horror a little bit more shock and awe, if it, as it were? Let us know in the comments section down below. Otherwise, stay tuned through the outro for the next review.